Good evening. The opinions and statements voiced by our guests do not necessarily reflect the opinions of this network. Enjoy the shows.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama. Welcome to the Paranormal Experienced Radio Show with your host, Kat Hobson. We are here to learn all we can about every type of experience within the paranormal. There will be interviews with seasoned investigators of the spiritual realm, including ufologists, cryptozoologists, psychics, mediums, authors, and creators of technology, and others with credible knowledge to share. Together, we will find out what brought these investigators of the unknown into the field and learn what keeps them working so hard in it. I'm interested in learning how these individuals go about their work, and I believe you are too. This program is all about bringing those who are in the field together with our listeners who are interested in what they find. For us, the paranormal is all about working with and supporting each other. We're all here seeking answers to the questions that bother us so. Now, let's get those answers. And enjoy the show.
Good evening. Welcome to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. You are listening to Paranormal Experienced with Kat Hobson, and that would be me. Thank you so much for being here. You know, I want to say that I am so pleased to be able to welcome tonight's guest. We were talking pre-show, and neither one of us could believe how long it's been since we've spoken. When I first met Josh Hurd, he was finishing up Brush with Evil as far as the film goes, and getting ready to move on to bigger and better. I don't know if anything's really been bigger and better than your first book and movie, but he was moving on. And Josh, I'm so excited to have you here tonight. Thank you. And you better talk to me.
Yeah, I'm excited too. Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm glad that you are being had. So I was sitting there going, I know that he can hear me. And for those who don't know, today has been such an interesting and great day.
I can hear everything, yeah.
Thank goodness. Otherwise, I would be lonely and you would be pondering what was going on. So, you've changed, you haven't changed a bit, but you have accomplished an awful lot since we last spoke. I am so excited for you. I mean, aside from family things and being able to do things that are fulfilling your dreams on the professional side, and having just a kicking paranormal location that you can do whatever you want to whenever you want to in. I mean, life is pretty okay, right?
Life could definitely be worse, I will say that.
You know, I really am thrilled for you, because the filmmaking is just insane. You are accomplishing so much, and I did not realize, and this is my bad on me, I did not realize that you were working with David Glidden and everyone else on Spook Lights, both 1 and 2.
Yes.
That subject is fascinating. Absolutely
I love that subject too. And like when Dave like approached me with that, like I didn't know what to think, but I was like, man, like nobody has touched this subject, right? And I was like, absolutely, count me in. Dave's like, oh, there's going to be a lot of like camping and stuff involved, and I'm not much of an outdoorsman, but I was like, yeah, I'm excited about this, you know, like being out in nature and trying to document something that has been grossly overlooked in the paranormal field, because we really don't know what is really going on with the lights themselves, you know, and it happens worldwide.
It does happen worldwide, and it happens like with the Murphy lights. It is every night, every time. Doesn't matter if you go, they show up. And those are obviously some sort of a physical phenomenon that we can't explain right now due to the regularity of their appearance. But that blows my mind. I have experienced personally by myself, which was foolish on my part, the Thomas Divide lights in Cherokee, North Carolina. And my husband said, don't go up there by yourself. And I'm like, well, come with me. It's like, well, I'm playing poker. I said, well, then I'm going by myself. You know, don't take me where there's something I want to investigate and then tell me I can't go alone and then not be available to help me, right? And every time I've gone, I've seen them. Every time.
Wow.
And I was talking to one of the rangers because I thought that was probably a good person to, you know, a good resource, right? And she said, you've seen those every time? I said, I do. I have video of them. And the colors are really interesting. And she was like, you see colors? I said, yeah, there's some pink and there's some white. You know, it just depends on what happens. And I was just curious. The reason I went to see her was because one of them had crossed the divide and was right by, we just lost Josh. Let's try to get him again. So he is driving and doing his level best to stay connected. So we will get him in here. Well, we're calling each other. Well, there he is. He's calling us. Hi there. Well, y'all just bear with us. This will work out momentarily. It's just been this kind of day, guys, but it's been a fantastic day, so I'm not fussing. I think we're calling...
has been forwarded to an automated...
I hear him calling. This is too much of a hoot. So... and I don't know why I'm not hearing. Okay. My turn to call him. Hey
Hello.
There. Hello. Fancy seeing you here.
No kidding. Stupid phone.
I know. I could hear you calling, and it was just like, I can't answer it. It won't answer.
It's so weird.
That was odd. But I'm so glad you're back because...
yeah, me too.
No doubt. I would have such a lonely, couple of hours without you.
Right.
But, I was talking about those Thomas Divide lights, and that was such an eerie experience. I had wanted to go to Brown Mountain, and that was 2 hours drive away, and I really didn't want to go into a place that had not just lost time experiences, but lost people experiences, and drive 2 hours to disappear. And my husband
Yep.
say, I told you not to go alone if and when I ever showed back up, right? So Thomas Divide seemed like a good compromise. And they come every time. But the one time something had crossed the divide and was outside my car. And I was
Oh,
just
wow.
like, well, hello. I'm afraid I'm not staying. And thank you for coming to try to see who I am too. But I mean, all it was a light. I could see the radiant light, which I had gone over topography maps. I had, spoken with residents about what was up on that ridge. And then I started seeing them. Once they start, they're actually above the mountain as well as on it.
Oh.
And it's really something to see. And especially
Amazing.
the colors. So that that ranger said, this is bizarre because my children go up there constantly and they have never seen them.
Wow.
Right? So, you never know what you're going to get. And I certainly love the fact that David was so into this. I met him at Ashmore Estates last year. And I didn't get a chance to talk with him because every time I would go back, he'd be gone. And every time he'd look for me, I'd be gone. And it was just one of those, this is ridiculous moments. And I thought, well, I'll be sure and find him. And he told me there was a film coming. And it was just, and there you were. When I'm going through the information that I collected, cause I knew you were coming. I had worked on getting a good bit built up. And, I'm like, well, look, there's Josh. I had no idea. And now you've got two on that.
Right.
So I think that's
So
brilliant.
great,
So did you experience
so
them
great.
yourself?
Like when we were at Brown Mountain, that was some of the coolest stuff that I have ever experienced. Being able to witness that for yourself, completely out of this world, because
Probably so.
I always approach it with like a healthy level of skepticism anyway. Like, okay, is this really going to happen? Or what are the odds that we're going to see something happen if we're only there for 2 nights, 3 nights, or what have you? Is this something that's even feasible? And then for it to, the first night that we were out there, nothing happened. And, our sales were kind of deflated because we're like, oh, this is the last night and it's now or never,
Did you say that out loud?
Yeah, absolutely. I think on a few different occasions. And then for it to actually happen, like, it's just amazing, to actually then see it for yourself. Just amazing stuff.
Well, what was the most shocking? Because I know that there are old tracks that used to run through there, and people would always say it was train lights, although those are no longer possible. But what was it like for you?
We did some of that stuff, like trying to, because there was a highway or whatever that was off in the distance, and we were trying to, maybe recreate something like that if it were headlights or what have you. And whatever it was that we were observing was certainly not a headlight, not anything of the sort. What we were experiencing, it almost appeared like it started on the mountain, pops up off of the mountain, and is then almost suspended in the air, and it's moving. But the way it was moving, it was almost as if there was some form of intelligence there. You know what I'm saying? Like, this wasn't something that was just a natural, I don't believe it's like a swamp gas thing or a natural anomaly or anything like that. I don't believe that. Whatever this thing was knew what it was doing. You know, as odd as that sounds.
Well, it's not odd, because that has been the consensus of every researcher I know who has been to Brown Mountain. And truly, I have a friend, Butch Wachowski, who has been planning an expedition there, and he had a health issue, and that's been put off a little bit. But I'm planning to participate in that, because I find this subject so fascinating. The researchers that I know are fantastic researchers, just like your team that you were with. There's no one that gives you pause or would make you think, oh, well, they're just doing this for attention. You know, this can't possibly be so. You do think it can't possibly be so, but the sources are so credible that you can't just turn your back.
And that's what I was, you know, going into this. It's like the people that have experienced this, you know, we interviewed a lot of people, and they don't seem crazy. They certainly don't seem off their rocker or anything like that in any way. Like, these are people that have had legitimate experiences, you know?
Well, I have a question relevant to that. I know that one of the things that got me almost grounded from going there was there was a show on Brown Mountain Lights. And
oh, cool.
I was, well, no, my husband was watching it. Okay. And yes. And when it came to the woman who disappeared and then her search party also disappearing.
That's.
Yes. He was just
kind
of
like, news.
Is this where you're wanting to go? I was like, well, it looks similar. You know?
You're like, no, I don't even know what you're talking about.
I'm just not really sure. Yeah. And he really is. He really is okay with these things, but he's not okay with missing time and disappearing people that never show back up. And I understand that that's something that concerns you too.
Yeah. When it comes to the idea or the thought of supposed alien activity, that freaks me out more than anything, probably. And I'm one of those guys, I'll put myself in a lot of pretty weird situations.
You do.
But when it comes to, the aliens and all of that stuff, I don't know what it is about it. A lot of people are out there and they'll say things like, you know, they're here to, you know, spread knowledge, kindness, love, enlightenment, things like that. That's something that I would love to entertain, but at the same time, like, I don't know if I quite buy into that.
There are too many. I mean, I think that it's just like our species, right? You have the people that applies to. You have people that in no way applies to.
Right.
But,
right.
You know, I just got back from the International UFO Congress last weekend.
Oh, sweet.
It was amazing. And one of the things
that would be cool.
It was my first time at that one. I've been to Contact in the Desert, which was actually a completely different animal. But in this one, it was nuts and bolts ufology. And they actually have support for experiencers and abductees.
That's amazing.
They provide counseling, and MUFON actually has a program that connects abductees and experiencers with psychological assistance. And a woman named
That's amazing stuff.
Kathleen Martin runs that program. She's brilliant, and I hope to be speaking with her here soon, but it was real. I didn't know this. I wasn't aware.
Right.
These people really have those experiences. And not all of them are hideous. Not all of them are wonderful. There's a broad mix. So I am
Right.
hesitant about that thought too.
Well, it's
Have
like,
you ever, with the weird places you found yourself, have you ever been concerned that was about to happen?
there was a few times. It was always in the back of my mind, like when we were shooting Into the Light. Well,
Mm-hmm.
both of those films, that was always in the back of my mind. But there was one night I remember I was at my mom's house, and she lives in Omaha, Nebraska, and I'm outside. It's like 3 or 4 in the morning, and I was just having a cigarette, basically about to go get ready for bed. And I'm outside, I'm doing my thing, and I see something up in the sky, and whatever this thing was spinning around, and it was moving quite fast, and it was emitting a green light around the center of it as it was spinning around. And I'm like, that's interesting. It's not making a noise or anything like that. And then it zips off into wherever, almost like it blinks itself out of existence. And it moved so fast that you couldn't even comprehend what you were witnessing. And all I do know is, like, whatever I was looking at, whatever I saw. Did you ever get in trouble as a kid and like, oh crap, the jig's up, mom or dad caught me and I'm in deep crap, like I'm not supposed to be doing this? Whatever
I have no idea what you're talking about.
But like whatever it was that I was witnessing,
Mm-hmm.
I felt in the very core of my being that I was not supposed to be seeing what I was looking at. I felt like it was wrong for me to be looking at this. Like, and it affected me on a very carnal level where I knew I'm not supposed to see this. And that right there is where this fear comes from. This is where, like, my, fear of aliens or UFOs or what have you, this is where it comes from. It's from that 7 seconds of my life right there was enough to shift me, change me around. I'm fascinated by the subject, and I do believe that there are things out there, that there are other beings, other life forms, other civilizations that we have no clue what is going on. There was a gentleman that I spoke with around that same time, because then I got interested, right? If it scares me, I want to know more.
Right.
And there was this guy I talked to. He's former CIA. And,
oh, goodness. You know what? We have to take a break.
Oh, okay,
I am so
cool.
excited to continue this conversation because I love when 3-letter agencies show up.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
we will be right back. Y'all be sure to come back too.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
To the believer, the evidence is overwhelming. To the skeptic, there will never be enough. Hello everyone. Join Kevin and Jennifer Malik, the host of Paraversal Universe, every Friday here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting. Also heard on WCET FM and The Rift.
Log on or tune in as they check out the mysteries found within the 8 categories of the unknown and unexplained, including ghosts and haunted places, aliens and UFOs, theology and mythology, cryptids and monsters, urban legends and folklore, conspiracies, metaphysics, and forbidden archaeology. Listen as Kevin and Jennifer interview the top minds in their respective fields as they share theories and information regarding these unsolved mysteries. For future show and archive information, one can find Paraversal Universe on Facebook, Twitter, and MeWe under various Paraversal Universe headings. So, for excellent talk radio about the unknown and unexplained, check out Paraversal Universe, where all paranormal perspectives apply. Brought to you by the Northern Wisconsin Paranormal Society, Ltd., and produced by WBHM-DB.com.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 23 minutes after the hour. Welcome back, and I am so glad you're here. You're listening to Paranormal Experienced with Kat Hobson. That's me. I have one of my favorite people here as my guest, Josh Hurd. And we were talking about when he was filming Into the Light, about Spook Lights. And you had just gotten to the part where you have, did you say a neighbor who was former CIA?
Correct.
Yes,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, so he was just kind of a buddy, more of like a friend of a friend, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And this friend had introduced me and, you know, got to talking and all this stuff. And it was funny because, yeah, like what he was telling me about, like, aliens, because obviously it gets onto the subject of aliens, and I just had that experience for myself. So I just flat out asked the question. You know, I'm not a shy person, right? So
No.
I just flat out asked, you know, and he's like, okay, look. He goes, I can tell you that definitively we have had contact as a government, as the United States government. We have had contact with 7 other races, alien races, what have you. And he's like, there's a couple of them that are very, very similar to us. They just want answers. They're very curious in nature. You know, they're all about progression and moving forward and bettering themselves or what have you. He's like, there's another couple out there that basically just like kill each other. You know, like it's just constant fighting and very aggressive. It's just amazing to me. Like all of this information that he had, you know, pertaining to things like that. Now that, I don't know, like, I guess it kind of depends then on who are we dealing with and when. I could probably get on board and sit down and have a conversation if it were a race of people who are very similar to us in nature and they just had more questions than anything. I could find, you know, productivity in a conversation like that. But it's the others that are out there that want to, you know, shoot first and ask questions later.
Yeah,
no,
and we will recognize that.
Right. If they are similar to us, I don't know about appearance or anything like that, but yeah, I mean, we wouldn't know. I mean, hell, I could be one.
I've wondered that about you.
I know, a lot of people do. What is wrong with this guy? God.
Yeah, I think it's just the constant, you know, happy dude. Nobody's that happy 24/7. I am,
right.
You know, as a rule, I like that, but it's just you're just so positive all the time. But,
yeah, I really, really try to be, and sometimes like it hurts You know what I mean? Because
I
it's
do
like,
know.
oh my God. It's like,
Yeah.
but you always try to like look on the bright side of something, and always try to find the positive, right? And how everything happens for a reason, and how this, might just be part of our journey or our path or whatever you
Well, if
want to
it's
call it.
happening, it is.
Right. Exactly. So yeah,
But,
that's what I got to keep telling myself, right?
well, I'll tell you why I'm so, rah-rah about that later. But it is. You have to just kind of deal with the path that you're walking on. So
Yeah.
when your friend was saying there are 7 species, 7 races, did he mention, like, because everybody always talks about reptilians and how evil, wicked,
I
mean,
know.
and nasty they are.
So
And
he didn't come right out and say reptilian. What he did say is that they would appear quite different. They would appear very, they would look terrifying just to look at, basically. Now, to me, that would suggest probably what we would consider to be a reptilian.
that would freak me out.
Yes, abso-freaking-lutely. But
Yeah.
I would be done. And then, of course, there's the others, the people that talk about, is it the Nordics?
Yes.
That are more
Like
fine-skinned.
Scandinavians.
Yes, exactly. Yes, absolutely. And it's like, but they would look just basically like you and I.
Mm-hmm. That's
There
something
really
that,
wouldn't be much of a difference.
that's what fascinates me. Do you know who Travis Walton is? He was abducted.
Travis Walton, yes.
He was
Is
the
that the
person.
Fire in the Sky?
Fire in the Sky guy.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay, yeah.
And when he talks about this, he has, they took him up, and I think they took him up to save his life. I think that he got in the prop wash, as it were, for a rocket, and it was going to kill him, and that's why he got abducted, was to save him. That's because he was gone so long. He was gone 5
Right.
days. And when he woke up, he said there were bugs. They looked like bugs all around him. And he got up and was trying to fight and thinking about that, and was all tripped out, and they all left in a hurry, and then 2 Nordics came in. And he was like, oh, they're people like me. Okay, I can not understand this, but maybe I won't try to kill them. But he said that, because he knew when he would try to wake up, he knew that there was something horribly wrong with him, right? And that's why he also felt that they were trying to save him. But
Amazing.
There's a question in chat that says, what are your thoughts on abduction?
On abduction. So I have many thoughts. I do believe it. I do believe that people have been visited / abducted. Now I'm about to take you down a rabbit hole, okay? So please bear with me.
I love rabbit holes. I've never found one
Okay,
that I didn't just like to go down into.
So guys, this is going to sound really strange at first, okay? But I want you to just go with me on this. But there is a thing out there. It's a drug, okay? There is a drug, and it is taken recreationally, and it's called DMT. Now, DMT is dimethyltryptamine. It is something that is also naturally produced in our bodies, in our brains specifically. Now, it's interesting, too, because DMT is a very strong hallucinogenic. If you've ever heard of, like, ayahuasca, in Native American thing, so it's a drink. They will drink it. They'll get physically sick. They'll puke their guts out, but then they will be tripping for a while. But regardless, what DMT is, like I said, it's a hallucinogenic. Now, people are taking this recreationally, and they're having very interesting experiences. Now, these, mind you, aren't like your stereotypical stoners down the street or what have you. These are professionals. These are doctors, lawyers, and professional people, people that we look up to, in society, people that we turn to for answers. And they're taking this drug recreationally, and it's not for anything like just to get high or whatever. But they claim that when they do DMT, they are transported to another world. They are transported almost to another dimension, if you will, okay? And while visiting this other dimension, there are beings that are there. And they say, what do you want? What do you really want to accomplish in life? And these people, like these professionals, they will say, I want, help with my career. I want to focus more on making more money. I want to do this. I want help with relationships or what have you. And they're like, okay, all you have to do is focus on X, Y, and Z and forget everything else. And what's fascinating about it is it's working. These people are taking the advice of these entities, these beings or whatever from this other dimension, and it's working. They're achieving everything they've ever wanted in life. And that's why they continue to do it. Now, what's interesting about it is if you look at some of the abduction cases in the past, specifically the ones that are done from your home while you're asleep or in bed, those are the ones that I look to the most, because if DMT is somehow naturally produced in our brains, is it feasible that some of these abduction cases could be explained away just because if we are naturally producing DMT, and more so higher levels at night, specifically while we're asleep, could it just be potentially then a chemical imbalance, which is something that happens every day to every one of us?
Well, sure.
Could it just be a chemical imbalance of DMT that is transporting them to another dimension or what have you? And they're interacting with these beings, but what would appear to be alien, because I didn't take drugs tonight, or I've never done drugs in my life. I'm not drunk. I'm not anything, So of course our brains are going to go to, holy crap, I was abducted. So I think some of them could be explained away, maybe even potentially with this DMT idea, right, or theory. But I do believe that there are legitimate cases out there. I mean, me personally, I know a lot of people tend to scoff at some of the abduction cases, like Betty and Barney Hill, for example. I totally believe that happened.
I do too. They had too much to lose by coming forward, not to have...
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It was a different world.
And that's just it. Yes, very much so. Very much so. But I do believe that it does exist. I do believe that these things are out there. I believe some of them are out there just to more or less study, right? They want information, how we tick, right? And I do believe that there are others out there that are a little more sinister in nature. I mean, you look around, you have cattle mutilations and things of that nature. It's like, what's the purpose of that? It's just,
I can't imagine that's
weird.
Human. I can't imagine that's research just for research's sake.
Right.
I think that's just a Twilight Zone kind of thing. And I think that, there's no blood. They don't bleed out.
Right. Correct.
And
which is fascinating.
They're mutilated in a medical way, not in a coyotes ripping them apart way.
Exactly. So that's another thing, is whatever it is so precise.
Yes.
That it would be surgical in nature.
Yes. It is.
Definitely not. It's definitely not like a carnivore just looking for meat. It's nothing like that. It's very precise.
And it's really amazing the actual numbers when it comes to that. You have had ranches with the majority of their herds wiped out. It's not just an occasional heifer or steer that's just going on. It's repetitive and it's continuous.
Right.
And
that's another thing that sucks too, is like, for those ranchers, for those farmers, that's their livelihood.
Absolutely.
Right, and it's like, that's not something to laugh at.
And it's really, when you get out into some of the areas that are surrounded, especially in the mountainous regions, like in Arizona and in Utah and all these places where the population is actually very low. The people that do live there see things all the time. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that if you're going to live like that, you're probably an outdoorsy, pretty brave person, and you just go and do your thing. It's not for the average bear. But
right.
I mean, I'm not going to do that. I don't like being away from medical care and society and stuff. I do not mind camping, and I do not mind being out on the water, but I do not want to be in the wild. So, although being in the water is kind of bad.
Well.
Yeah, I don't run fast enough, right? And I run like Phoebe.
I'm in the same boat.
So I've always run like Phoebe.
Great.
It is not my strong suit. But
That is the best.
It is what it is, right?
This is like one of my favorite shows ever.
Me too. I was just talking about that with someone else relevant to a different character, and it's weird how those shows actually apply to real life sometimes.
Absolutely.
Well, basically it's just people living, right?
Right, yeah.
Well, I want to, I did not know you were this fascinated by UFOs. I am too. And I've had my own experiences that make you go, really? But, what you're talking about with the DMT and the people who are tripping on purpose sounds a lot like things with Mozart and Beethoven and Led Zeppelin and other people getting downloads.
Yes.
So, is that... Oh, we only have 30 seconds before our break. But when we come back, I wanted to talk about that and just kind of see if that's what you were taking from that too. Because
okay, cool.
Led Zeppelin's been very open about, that being how they get a lot of their music.
Right.
So I think that's pretty cool. So with that being said, we will be right back with Josh Hurd. Isn't he awesome? I told y'all this was going to be a fantastic show. So come right back. We'll be here.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Abnormal Alabama presents Crypticon October 25th and 26th at the Port of the Wharf, Orange Beach. Bigfoot, the paranormal, authors and speakers, vendors, and your chance to experience the Psychomantium. There'll be a costume contest and much, much more. October 25th and 26th at the Port of the Wharf, Orange Beach. Get more info, directions, and tickets available now at abnormalalabama.com. That's abnormalalabama.com.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre. You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham,
Thank Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 45 minutes after the hour. Welcome back to Paranormal Experience Radio. I am Kat Hobson, your host, with my guest, Josh Hurd, and we are so off the reservation tonight, as it were. We are having a great conversation about things that are a little freaky, and that's great, because Josh is a brilliant filmmaker. He's a great author. He makes his films. He makes other people's films about other people's topics. And he is just a fantastic person. And I'm having fun because I had no idea, Josh, that you were as into these topics as I am. And I find it fascinating.
Like I said, it terrifies me. It terrifies me, but at the same time, it's like, that's why I want to dig into it, you know? It's like, I'm less scared if I'm trying to understand something, right?
Well, yeah. If you can wrap your mind around it, then you've got an answer.
And that's what's tough. It's like, and what's interesting to me is like how, I don't know, like, we know plenty about space itself. You know, we know a lot about space. We know more, in fact, about space than we know of our own oceans, which is quite
True.
something. You know, if you ask me, that is fairly interesting. But, you know, it's like just, I don't know, like trying to wrap your head around the absolute vastness and infinite space, where here we are and we're very confined, and our brains don't necessarily work like that. It's a difficult concept to grasp, you know?
It is. And, you know, it really is an interesting concept when you consider that they know more about us than we would ever know about them.
Right.
And I don't necessarily think that it's just they're smarter because they can, you know, get here. I think that they've just been observing us for a long time. And
I would agree with that.
You know,
and I think that's what, like, that's another aspect of this that kind of freaks me out, right? So when you think about it, and how many, you know, thousands of years now we have supposedly been being visited by different beings and all of this stuff, you know, it really kind of makes you wonder. Like, there was a movie that came out, and it was called The Fourth Kind. Mm-hmm. And it was really well done, like the way that they did the movie and all that stuff. It was really, really interesting. But there's this one section in the film where she's asking this person who is supposedly being, or had been taken over by one of these beings, it was communicating with an alien being, and asks the question, "What about God?" And the response chilled me to my absolute core, because it said, "I am God." Now, that right there freaked me out, just because, number one, I would consider myself to be a Christian, right? As far as belief and all of that. Yeah, and it's one of those things that make you think, are we, as the world, are we just a science experiment in an 8th grade classroom sitting on a shelf somewhere?
You know,
that's what really freaks me out.
Well, that's what slayed me at the end of Men in Black.
Exactly. The universe that was on a cat's collar.
Yes.
Right? Like, are you kidding me?
And, you know, we don't know that that's not true. I sit there a lot of times and think about, I'm a hammock layer, right? I have a hammock on the back. I have a dog that sits in the hammock with me. We're happy for days, right?
Yeah.
But I see stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at it and I'm like, well, okay. I've tried to report it before, and the MUFON website wouldn't work. Yeah, because I have friends who work there, and they're always like, you should, if you see something, you should report it. And I never have, and so I tried to. And,
Mm-hmm.
it didn't work, but I put forth the effort. And
Sure.
it was cool because it was during a meteor shower.
Oh,
And I
wow.
figured that they must have come to watch it too.
Yep.
So it was just really a neat thing. But there were two of them. One came from one side of the mountain behind my house, and the other came from the other side. Like they wrapped around the mountain and parked in constellations. And I was just
Wow.
like, okay, I have not been drinking. This is too weird. Maybe I should have a drink,
Right.
But,
Right.
I had a similar experience with something that came from the horizon line and stopped in a constellation when I was in Sedona during a night sky tour.
Oh my God.
And it was not dark yet. And the astronomer that was leading my group just blew me off until this man that was behind me a little bit said, "No, she's right. I saw it. It's sitting right up there." And I said, "Why don't we
Wow.
turn on your telescope?
Yep.
Let's look at that." And that drew daggers. I got all kinds of daggers. But, I was just exasperated that this guy's an astronomer. He looks at the sky. And I know he's seen things that make him go,
Right.
And he wouldn't even have a conversation. And
That makes you
I
wonder.
did not whip out do you know what I do? I would
Yeah.
really like to talk to you about this. It's what I do.
That's right.
And it was just like crickets. We moved right
Oh,
along.
man. Yeah. That's crazy. I know that one evening when Dave and I were shooting the first Into the Light, we sat out in this field and we had observed something very, very odd in the sky because there were no lights that were emitting from this thing at all. And it was moving very, very fast. And I mean, from horizon to horizon. And like under 45 seconds, it was moving super fast. And it was very, very high up in the sky, like you could barely even see it, but you could see the outline of it, and it was zipping right along. That freaked me out pretty good.
Well, when you
Just
saw
like
the outline,
Dave
what did
just-
the outline
yeah.
look like? What shape was it?
The outline itself, it was more of a triangle, is what it appeared to be.
Wow, really?
Yep, it did
I've
appear
never
to be
seen a
more of a
triangle.
triangle. It's pretty interesting. Now, I will say we were out. I was shooting another documentary film at the beginning of the summer. This was in June. The beginning of June, we were out shooting a documentary with my buddy, like Johnny Hauser, was there, and my buddy Seth and Chris and Lewis. We were all out there filming this documentary, and it had nothing to do with UFO activity. And we ended up seeing numerous things in the sky that night, and we captured the majority of them on film, which I'm quite happy about. But some of these things that were happening with these crafts, like, it's utterly impossible from where we stand with aviation and all of that stuff, utterly impossible to maneuver a craft like this. No way. And then for it to just blink out of existence, be gone.
Well, you
Just
said
bizarre.
that there were many of them. How many?
7 that night. 7 just that night.
Where were you?
And
what area?
So that's another. So this documentary that we're currently putting together, it's called 1903. And in 1903, in a very small town called Van Meter, Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
It's just nestled right up next to Des Moines, but it's a very, very small town. In 1903, there was a winged, humanoid, bat-like creature that was spotted on, I believe it was like 6 or 7 consecutive nights in late September into early October. And they call it the Van Meter monster.
Right.
And that's ultimately what we were there exploring. And we experienced more that night. Like this, I'll put this into perspective for you. This was the only time I have ever heard my good pal Johnny Hauser say, "I want to go home." Like,
whoa.
it was that intense.
That guy is tough as nails.
Exactly. And I said, well, if Hauser doesn't want to stay, I'm getting out too. Like, you know what I mean? I'm out of here. But that night alone, not only did we hear disembodied voices, not only did we see shadow figures, not only did we experience like a ghost train twice, like where you would swear that a train was coming. It sounds exactly like a train. We were on the tracks, everything. And the tracks were right at our campsite. And nothing happened. No train came through whatsoever. And there's no switch or any other lines that run by there. That's it. And that happened twice, And it's like there was all of this stuff going on simultaneously. And that really got my wheels turning, obviously, because then there's that really cool theory out there that's called like the unified paranormal theory.
Yeah.
That would suggest, that everything, whether it's cryptids or UFOs or ghosts or angels or demons or whatever, it all comes from the exact same thing, whatever that may be, but it all comes from one source. And it really got my wheels turning as to what was going on. We went out there searching for evidence of, a cryptid. And what happened knocked my socks off entirely. It was ridiculous.
Sure, gosh. I'm
yeah.
just going to say that if Johnny Hauser's ready to go home, I'm going home. There's no question and no conversation.
Yeah.
Did you wind up staying?
Yeah, we settled down. Oh, yeah, we stayed. Of course we stayed.
Did you experience the cryptid?
We're also stubborn.
Well, I know, right? I would have a fit.
What's interesting about it is, like, at the end of this 7-day period or 5-day period or whatever it was, enough people in town had experienced this monster for themselves. And these, again, are not your stereotypical town drunk or anything like that. These aren't dudes just spinning yards. These are bankers and lawyers. These are people with everything to lose and have a reputation to uphold. For them to claim anything like this was happening is quite abnormal, right? So enough people had seen this thing. They were taking shots at this thing, shooting it, and not phasing it at all. They chased
struck it
the
and
entire
didn't phase
town. Correct. And like the entire town then, as they describe it in the literature, everybody in town basically was locked and loaded waiting for this thing, and it showed up. And they said they had enough ammunition to take down the Spanish Armada. You know what I mean? Like, they were ready to go. And they chased this being outside of town. And just outside of town, there was a coal mine. Well, it went down into the mine shaft. So naturally, in 1903, what do? They blew it up. They blew up the coal mine. They caved in the entrance. So whatever it was, whatever it is or whatever, it's still down there. The remnants of it, at least, are still down there. Now, not only that, there were still horses, carts, tools, everything. It's all still right there. Now, this is very private-owned land, so it took a little work, to get access to the grounds. But, we got there, and we were able to camp right there at the mine where this all happened. And we set up very, very sensitive recording equipment. We had, FLIR cameras, night vision, all sorts of fun stuff out and ready to roll. And some of the very odd things that we were capturing, especially on audio, was not only like disembodied voices and what we would consider EVPs, but we were also hearing what sounded like very odd chanting, almost like, imagine like Gregorian chant. Well, imagine like Gregorian type chant, except now put it in a very minor key, so it's now creepy. It becomes less beautiful and a little more sinister, right? So it was bizarre, all of this stuff. Whenever this would happen, the livestock that was around there, the animals, just nature in general, would stop. Everything was still when this would happen. Like, very odd section of the United States, that is for sure. Coincidentally, that's only about 20 minutes away from where Dave and I were filming then for Into the Light, the first part of Into the Light. We're only about 20 minutes away from where we were actually filming that section of that film. It's just a very odd section of the United States, that's for sure.
Did you have any experiences along those lines when you were filming that?
When we were out filming Into the Light?
Yes.
We had, the UFO thing that we saw. There was that. Other than that, though, no. Everything else that we captured is what we presented in the film.
Unbelievable.
That is super cool. Weird. Super weird stuff, though.
Well, I don't even know what to say to that, except that we're about to go to our top of the hour news break. But, that just mesmerizes me. It's so interesting. Because people would just, laugh that off, laugh that away, whatever. And yet, people that I trust experienced that. Yeah. So, I can't do that. I'm going to have to ponder on that. That is super weird. But we are going to go to our news break. And you know what? You never know. Maybe we'll find a little good news because you know what? We're due. So y'all enjoyed this. This is a good chance to fill up your beverage or stretch those legs, do a few cartwheels, find chocolate. So we'll be back with Josh Hurd. Thank y'all for listening and see you on the flip side.
An act of war. Elisa Brady, Fox News. That's how Secretary of State Mike Pompeo describes the weekend attacks on Saudi oil plants. He's now in Saudi Arabia, arriving just after the Saudis displayed evidence, including missile and drone wreckage, they say shows the attacks were unquestionably sponsored by Iran, which Tehran denies. Iran-backed rebels in Yemen had claimed responsibility.
The intelligence community has high confidence that these were not weapons that would have been in the possession of the Houthis.
As for a possible U.S. response,
you will see. We're in a very powerful position. Right now, we're in a very, very powerful position.
President Trump not ruling out military action, but so far focusing on ramped-up sanctions. He spoke earlier alongside his newly named National Security Advisor, Robert O'Brien, joining him during an ongoing trip to California.
It's a privilege to serve with the president and we look forward to another year and a half of peace through strength.
O'Brien has been the State Department's chief hostage negotiator, winning praise today from the family of former FBI agent Robert Levinson, who disappeared more than a decade ago in Iran. President Trump calls the Fed a failure, tweeting no guts after the second interest rate cut of the year, another quarter-point shave.
We took this step to help keep the U.S. economy strong in the face of some notable developments and to provide insurance against ongoing risks.
But Fed Chief Jay Powell remains cautious on future hikes, and Wall Street's initial reaction was a sell-off.
There's a limited arsenal now of what the Fed can do to try to keep this economy on track, and they're keeping some of this on the sidelines, some of their power on the sidelines in case we get some kind of global meltdown in the economy.
Fox Business Network's Jerry Willis at the New York Stock Exchange. The Dow finished up 36 points. A statement just released by Facebook says CEO Mark Zuckerberg will be on Capitol Hill tomorrow for meetings about future internet regulation. America's listening. Fox News.
The following message is brought to you by TD Ameritrade. So you've done a ton of research on a trade, but you can't decide if you want to go through with it. TD Ameritrade's trade desk might be the secret to figuring it all out. Just go to tdameritrade.com/trade desk to see how they can help gut check your trades. Member SIPC.
Bail denied for a now former airline mechanic accused of sabotaging a passenger plane, now suspected of possible ties to terrorists as well. Fox's Gernal Scott.
Abdul Majid Maruf Ahmed Alani will remain in jail until his trial. The longtime American Airlines mechanic has been accused of tampering with a jetliner with 150 people aboard. The decision to deny bail was based on new evidence that Alani has a brother in Iraq that may be linked to ISIS. There's also a record of wire money transfers to Iraq and of videos of ISIS murders on his phone. Alani's lawyer says prosecutors won't be able to prove the sabotage was intentional.
Though Alani has reportedly claimed he was hoping to get overtime pay when the plane turned around for repairs, prosecutors have not announced any additional charges. The Trump administration tells California it can no longer have its own standards for cleaner cars. The state has had a waiver for years allowing stricter vehicle emission standards.
It was widely anticipated, this move. Of course, the White House has been talking about rolling back the strict CAFE standards set under President Barack Obama. That's the corporate average fuel economy. On Capitol Hill, fierce criticism from California Senator Dianne Feinstein, who notes in a statement today a pending antitrust investigation into car companies operating here in the state of California. She says this to the president. As you know, 2 federal district courts have upheld California's specific statutory authority under the Clean Air Act to set more stringent vehicle emission standards.
Fox's Kevin Quark, the latest move expected to fuel new legal challenges. A referee who told a high school wrestler to cut his dreadlocks or forfeit a match last year is now suspended for 2 seasons by the state of New Jersey. Officials also announcing new mandatory bias training for all referees and coaches involved in high school athletics. I'm Lisa Brady. This is Fox News.
The following message is brought to you by TD Ameritrade. When it comes to investing, each of us does it our own unique way. Some of us want to go it alone. Others might prefer some guidance. Regardless of your style, TD Ameritrade is always creating new solutions to help you. From their award-winning technology to personalized guidance, they have everything you need to invest on your terms. Visit tdameritrade.com/YTDA to learn more and get started today. Member SIPC.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Welcome back to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 5 minutes after the hour. And welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us here. You are listening to Paranormal Experienced with Kat Hobson here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama, and I'm so appreciative that you are. Of course, I know you're here for this guest. Josh Hurd is brilliant. He is an author. He is a paranormal investigator and researcher. He covers all aspects of the paranormal. He is a filmmaker, truly extraordinaire. A Brush with Evil 1, 2, and 3. Is it Interconnected?
Yeah, that's right.
And,
yeah.
And then Into the Light 1 and 2. There's a whole lot more. Patience. The Spirits of Malvern, which he also happens to own Malvern Manor, just in case you want to go do a little extreme paranormal investigating. And I am so glad to get a chance to talk to you. I did not realize it had been so long, and I love talking to you.
Yeah, it's kind of sickening that it's been this long, honestly. Like, I didn't realize.
Yeah, it won't be again.
Realize.
It will not be again. And,
man,
you know, I'm just so glad you're here.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
Well, I'm just glad you were free. I know that's got to be a rarity.
Absolutely.
And
sometimes it is, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you're a busy guy. You're getting stuff done, accomplishing a lot. You got a beautiful family you like to spend time with. Yeah, you got a few things. So,
yeah, the plate's usually full, you know.
It's a good thing. Much better than the phone not ringing.
Exactly.
Until you're tired of the phone.
Yeah.
But, you know, we were talking about your experience in Van Meter, and Mark over in our Spreaker chat says that's a neat story. Well, did you feel like it was
cool
neat
story.
when you had everything happening at one time?
Well, no, and that was just it. That was what I found the most anomalous about it, is the fact that, you know, we go there to shoot a doc on a cryptid. You know, I wasn't expecting anything. Yes, exactly. And I wasn't expecting anything, like, at all. You know, like, to get something on film anyway is tough. And now you're talking about a creature that, you know, this is all the way back in 1903. What are we going to find? You know, like, nothing. We're going to tell a really crazy story. We're going to spend the night out in the woods, and that's it. And this flipped so fast on its heels. You know, we were having a great time. We pitching our tents and cooking hot dogs and all that fun stuff and just shooting B-roll and, you know, laughing and joking and having a great time. And then the sun sets, and it was a whole new ball game. So I don't know. Like, I certainly wasn't expecting to have happen what happened.
Well, I don't think anyone would have.
No, I just can't wait to get the doc out. You know,
I can't wait for you to get it out, because I will be watching that. You know, and I know that there was no way not to address what was going on. So,
right, and that was just it. It's like, you know, we had equipment that was set up on the tracks, and my buddy Paul Kosis, who, you know, was in like the Brush with Evil 3 film, and the equipment he has such a brilliant mind anyway, and the equipment he has is all built by him. You know, you can't just go out and buy this stuff anywhere, and he puts a lot of thought and a lot of effort into these creations. And we had some of his equipment on both sides of the tracks. And like when we were hearing like this train approaching, we're like, oh, we got to grab that equipment quick. Grab it. And so we're collecting all this stuff, and it's like, quick, get over the rails quick before this thing's coming, because it's sounding like it's just about to make the curve, you know, around the bend towards us, and then nothing. You know, and that happens twice. It's
that
like,
so
what is going on? Because
so
what I really
trippy.
wanted, I was like, oh, there's a train coming. Quick, roll camera now, because I want to get a shot of this train going through, because it's going to look super sexy at night. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's get that shot. And there's no train. It's just bizarre.
Was that your first ghost train experience?
Yes, it was, actually.
I've never had one. I just find that fascinating.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting stuff, because then it wasn't until we were leaving town. We had packed up the next morning and all that, and we were leaving town, and a train actually came through. Like a train, like a real train came through.
And you saw this one, right?
We did see this one, yes.
Yeah. Well, I was just curious because, you know, you had done the Brown Mountain Lights, and I know that there are theories that include, you know, we had mentioned a train coming through and whatever. which is not physically possible anymore. But I didn't know if maybe you had experienced that while you were in North Carolina too. That's why I
wish.
asked that. I know, right?
I wish that would have happened. Yeah.
So why do you
I mean, it
think?
is interesting.
Why do you think this happened in Iowa? I mean, what do you think? Do you think this is not unusual for that location? Do you think it was just responding to you and why you were there? Do you think it?
Yeah, and that's like
why?
the best question. Yeah, that's like a really good question because, and I always ask myself this, right? Like, what merits a haunt? What is the antecedent of a haunting? And no matter where you're at, right? In this case, you know, and I find it interesting too, and this is kind of the basis then of what I based A Brush with Evil 3 off of. It was just the simple fact that what if it's something as simple as group dynamic?
Yes.
Right? And why is it that I'll go grocery shopping with my wife and we'll go get our groceries and everything's fine, but if I walk into that exact same store with this group of guys and we are walking up and down the same aisles or what have you, and things are flying off the shelf at us, and the lights are flickering on above us, and all of these weird things just seem to happen when we are together. Why? Is there something with group dynamic that would then elicit more of a response from anything paranormal? And I don't know. Like I always, yes, exactly. And I always joke, you know, because I always say, you know, it's probably just because we have Johnny Hauser with us, and Johnny is like one of the most haunted mamma jammas I've ever met in my life. So I always just blame it on him. But like, I think there's something more to this. And so, you know, that's why, like, when we did A Brush with Evil 3, I took this group of people and I split us in half. And I put 150 miles in between us. And then we're actively trying to elicit a response from the other location or have something specific happen to another member of the group that's 150 miles away. And it worked. You know, why is that? Why would that happen? It's like there's, you know, the closer we seem to get to any answers, here comes 1,000 more questions. You know, it's like that's what's really beautiful and really frustrating about this paranormal stuff, all at the same time.
Well, sure. I mean, it's freaky. It's paranormal.
Yes. Yes,
and,
exactly.
You know, I would not call you a haunted man. I mean,
right.
I totally would not ever consider you to be like a haunted spirit kind of man. And
sure.
Yet you find this stuff and it responds to you and your group constantly.
Right.
I mean, it just fascinates me. I mean, we may not talk much, but I'm always following you and keeping up with what you're doing. And,
right.
You know, it just is bizarre.
It really is. I don't know. And, you know, it is interesting, too. Like, sometimes we'll be doing something like at Malvern Manor, right? Mm-hmm. It was interesting. Like, one day I sat down for an interview. I was giving an interview over there, and we had, you know, the cameras and everything set up. And the question that was asked to me was, you know, does any of this stuff like ever follow you home or mess with you while at home? And right then and there, I made the rookie mistake, apparently, that I had my phone on me, and my phone went off. And it was a text message, and I apologized profusely. I grabbed the phone out of my pocket. I'm like, guys, I'm so sorry. Like, this never happens. It was from my wife. And she goes, I don't know what you guys are doing over there, but you need to knock it off because things are popping off over here now. Like, at our house. So I'm like, what? Like, this is bizarre. So it's just like, why does this stuff happen? And I don't know. I just don't know. I wish I did.
That is just way... I don't even know what to say. That is just way bizarre.
Right.
I mean...
Yeah.
What are those
and my
odds?
wife, my wife, she is not, I mean, she's interested in this stuff, sure, but she doesn't actively pursue it by any means. she will admire from afar, you know, and she'll ask really cool questions and has really amazing ideas. A Brush with Evil 2, that was all her baby. That was her idea, her thought process put to film. But, you know, she's not actively pursuing this stuff. And she, just for her and the kids to be here, and cabinet doors are opening and closing on their own, and the dog is freaking out, you know, she's like, knock it off. Like, whatever you're doing, stop. So, yeah, that was pretty interesting, though.
I think I'd have made that phone call, too.
Oh, yeah.
Without a
absolutely.
doubt. And maybe showing up with
God.
the kids. I don't know. But,
yeah.
you know, if things get too crazy. Because
absolutely.
I hate when children are around when things go awry.
Yeah.
And that wasn't really going
That's never
awry.
good.
That was just kind of showing out. But I just think that is fascinating. Well, so have you wrapped the Van Meter documentary?
We wrapped filming up. We did that. And so now it's just editing, you know, all of that fun jazz, and trying to make it look as pretty as possible, which is sometimes hard. Like the way I shoot film is very run and gun. You know what I mean? Like I like to present things as they happen. I don't want to put a lot of post-production work into something. I want the audience to experience this as if they're there.
Yes.
And so I don't want so it's dirty, you know, it's, I don't know. It's just very, very basic.
Very real.
How we do it and how we shoot it. Exactly. And that's just it. I don't want to present something that looks that polished. Now, for interviews and things like that, I like to sit down and I like to have a scene well lit. But for the investigation portion of anything, I want it to look as legit as possible, because I don't want the audience to be like, oh, well, you know, they've used X, Y, and Z for like special effects and all of that. So I don't want them to be like question what's being presented to them.
Exactly. And I've never heard anybody do that with your work.
No, and I appreciate that. I really do. But yeah, so like what you're going to see is very raw and very real. That is for sure.
I can't wait for that. I mean, I like all of your work, but I'm fascinated by this, and especially with it not being cleaned up. It's just too neat.
Yeah.
And we are at our break. So we are going to go and let you enjoy this, and we will be right back. Thanks for joining us, and be sure you come back.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Several U.S. presidents are on record talking about the UFO mystery.
Yeah, Presidents Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan both had UFO sightings of their own, but the current presidential campaign might be the first in which UFO disclosure has been championed by a major party candidate.
DIA, CIA, it moves around, is operating a program to train psychic spies to spy and use their powers against Russia. John Ronson writes about this in The Men Who Stare at Goats.
The first known sighting of a ghost took place right after Abraham Lincoln was assassinated in the late 1860s during the administration of Ulysses Grant.
Project Paperclip, Clinton releases it all in 1998.
Possibly the unequal cooling of its surface.
I say, do you still think it's a meteor, Professor?
I don't know what to think. The metal casing is definitely extraterrestrial.
It's a place where UFO hunters and scientists gather to examine paranormal activity in the region.
Some of the documents, this is bringing Nazi scientists into the United States to work here. So we fought against the Nazis, and it's not, this again is not a revelation. As early as 1947, 1946, we knew some of this, right?
On the paranormal, will we see U.S. President Barack Obama's foreign policy go intergalactic in a quest for gold stolen by aliens? We'll tell you at least how the White House responded to claims the chief executive has been teleporting to Mars. But let's get to today's Capitol account.
UFOs, hauntings, psychic abilities, conspiracy, ESP, cryptozoology. There are many things that remain unexplained in the inexplicable world around us, and we're talking about them here, looking for answers on WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama. The truth is out there.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 23 minutes after the hour. Welcome back to Paranormal Experience Radio. I'm so glad you're here because you know what? I am having a great conversation with my friend and guest, Josh Hurd. I have always admired your work, Josh. I am taken aback by some of the experiences that you shared while you were filming your latest documentary. I'm always shocked when people get things like that. And I shouldn't be. I mean, I do it myself, but when people have something that is just so bizarre on video,
right?
That just, I love
and that's
that.
another thing that I took away from it too, is like looking at the footage and all that stuff that I have here. It's like watching it all, and the expressions on everyone's face is all the exact same expression, and it's like, what is going on? Like, what is happening? You know, like we're just completely like dumbstruck, for lack of a better term. We have no idea what is going on. That's the stuff that fascinates me.
Well, I can't imagine the group of men that you had out there having that reaction. That's why I'm so interested in seeing it, because I know everyone you mentioned. And if I don't know them personally, I certainly know their reputations.
Right.
And
you know, that's kind of what we're going for, right? So like we started this entertainment group, right? We're called Terrify, and it's terror-fi.
Yeah, I love that.
Terrify Entertainment. And you know, with that, it's just us, you know, this group of buddies that enjoy making film, and we all complement each other so much. Like, if one guy wants to do audio, this shoot, he'll be in charge of the audio. This guy's going to run camera A and camera B and camera C or whatever. We just kind of divvy up, like, oh, what sounds fun? You know, what's going to be done? But like, we work so well and so effortlessly together that it's an absolute pleasure to be working with these guys, you know, for sure.
Well, it would have to be. Like I said, I know the reputations of all of you. I can't imagine some of the conversations that I'm sure occur, and the camaraderie.
Yeah.
So
it's a lot of fun.
I know, right? And people call that work.
So. Yeah, I tell you what's work is being away from them in the editing bay, you know? Like,
well, sure.
That's where the work starts.
Well, you know, that's kind of like when you're reviewing a week's worth of evidence.
It's rough, right? It's just rough.
But you know what? If you don't get that much, then you may miss something. I hate to feel like I might have missed something because I was not in the mood to review that much that week.
Yep, exactly.
So I have way too much footage, way too much audio, and it's just me going through it.
And it just never
sometimes
stops.
It takes a while.
Yeah. And I tell you, like, it's tough too, because now it's like we're doing a lot. We're shooting a series that's going to be coming on VidiSpace very soon. We obviously we're doing the edit on 1903 with the Van Meter stuff, and then we just literally on Monday shot another documentary. And so now we have all of this other footage, and we have to start putting that together as well. So we have a lot of things kind of going simultaneously. But man, we're having a good time doing it. That's for sure.
Well, it sounds like you are, and I can hear it in your voice. I mean, it just sounds fantastic. And do you still have your groupies?
Groupies?
Groupies. Denise Pridemore wants to know if you still have your groupies. And so, Brenda in chat says that she is one.
This is the best thing ever. So, like, I'm doing my thing at Kansas City at the Paracon in KC, and it's my turn to speak or whatever. So I get up there and I'm trying to be professional and all of this stuff, and then I also see that Chad Lindbergh is sitting in the audience, and Chad's from like Ghost Stalkers, that show. Mm-hmm. He's also been on every other show that you could possibly imagine. And like all these movies and films in Hollywood. And so I'm like, okay, Josh, it's very important that you don't screw this up in some way. So I'm up there and I'm trying to be all professional. And then in walks all of my buddies, and they're all wearing these white shirts, and they all have a very large picture of my face on the shirt. It says like official Josh Hurd fan club member or whatever.
Oh, that is so cool.
God. This was all organized by Dave Glidden. He was the one that organized all of this. It was just hilarious, and then I was like, God, why would you do that? But it turns out like the shirts themselves, people could buy the shirts, and all the money went to like the Lost Limbs Foundation. So I was like,
that's awesome.
Oh, so it went to a good cause, So I was like, oh, this is cool. Because at first I'm like, Dave, I'm going to kill you. And I'm like, oh, Dave, I want to hug you. That's really cool.
I can understand, cool, but that is so cool.
Yeah. Man. Yeah,
that's why I like the Ash Bash, because Robin is always supporting the Lost Limbs Foundation.
Such a cool guy.
Yeah.
Such a cool guy.
Well, it's just so important. And I'm really
absolutely.
Things like the Ash Bash and the Gettysburg Battlefield Bash and things of that nature.
Oh, yeah.
I just love them.
And I'm super stoked. Are
you going?
I just got invited. I'm going to be speaking and all sorts of fun stuff at Gettysburg Battlefield Bash. I am so excited.
That is so cool. I love that. I've been the last 2 years. You're going to have such a great time.
Yeah, I am so stoked about this. Can't wait.
I did not know that. Well, you heard it here first.
That's right. I'm like, I haven't even announced this yet, but yeah.
So, yay. Well, that's cool. We will have to break bread together while we're there.
So, absolutely.
That'll be fun. What are you going to talk about?
Honestly, I haven't even decided yet. I think what's going to happen is I'm going to start piecing together like different pieces of, evidence or footage or what have you, and maybe start talking about like correlation. Like I could talk for days about just like the experiment on A Brush with Evil 3. Mm-hmm. But then at the same time, it's like now we've got 1903 coming out and all of that. So it's like I'll probably talk about that. Like I don't even know yet.
Well, just tell them you need 3 hours. They'll be fine with that. So.
Yeah, right. Hey, Eric, If Eric's listening right now, Eric Julian, I'm going to need 3 hours, pal. Thanks. I appreciate it.
There you go. It'll work.
Man.
It'll be great. So I am so stoked that you're going to be there. That's going to be a blast. That is my favorite.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, pretty much my favorite paranormal event of the year.
That's awesome.
Because they raise so much money and they help people. And, that supports the Wounded Warriors of Pennsylvania as well as children with cancer. So.
Yep, absolutely.
Cool.
All just
fundraiser.
amazing stuff. And I love that.
Everybody is there normally, on their own dime. They don't get like free vendor tables and things of that nature, but it's just really cool.
Yeah.
And it is camaraderie. It's like family. Batman is there with the Batmobile, just saying.
Sweet.
Totally.
Sweet.
Mm-hmm. I love it. And there's music and food trucks and, people run in and out. I got to see, I actually got to meet Reaper for the first time face to face, Bill Reap. And,
oh, yeah.
He got me hooked up with some friends to get I just didn't know that they did this, Jeff Conkle and Scott Gruenwald, to get my SLS camera grooving. So much love there because they did, and they sent it back, and it was so much better than when I sent it to them. So
that's so awesome.
And I got to meet Greg from the Fort Mifflin, and I met so many people that I had heard about and run into, but had never actually run into their work, but never actually gotten to meet. So you're going to absolutely love that. And Pam and Steve have the best volunteers working with them.
Yeah.
And you get to investigate.
See, and that's even
night.
better. And that's
Yes.
and I love that anyway. Like going to an event and meeting new people and you form new friendships with these people and everybody's just like, there's a big sense of family, and just togetherness, and everybody's just all there for the same reasons. And it's just for nothing more than just a basic love for this, for this stuff.
Yes.
And I love that.
And, people are very gracious. I didn't know anybody last year. And, I did, but not people that were going to go out in the field as locals with equipment and let me come play too.
Yeah.
So, I had some equipment with me, just not my full kit, but it
Sure.
was so awesome. I got to go out with teams. The Deadlight people have the best product as far as lighting goes on the planet.
Yeah.
And I got to play with that out in the field, out at Saxbridge. And, the field's behind it with Robert from Elite Paranormal. And
Sure.
I just had learning experiences, and I had paranormal experiences because these people, cared enough to show me where to go instead of just sending me out on my own, I was going. I was in Gettysburg and I was going. It didn't matter if I was by myself. You're going to love it.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I
Have
can't
you
wait.
investigated
And I know,
at Gettysburg?
I have. I've been there once before. Man, that was a cool time too. But man, I don't remember exactly what that event was. I just know, I was surrounded by, every paranormal celebrity I could imagine, and I was freaked out the entire time. So I'm like, I don't know how to act around you. You know what I mean? It's like, oh my God. I'm like, okay, Josh, don't make an ass out of yourself.
And it's a struggle sometimes because there's so many people, and
oh yeah,
you admire and respect all of them. And I don't go fangirl very often at all. And probably my friend Krista Sajere, who I had already met, but I am such a huge appreciator of the things that he went through with with his experience at the University of New York, New York University, Geneseo, and that was terrible, and it was short term, but it was. I mean, someone died in the course of that experience and stuff, and it had Ed and Lorraine Warren in there, and there was all kinds of stuff that made that a very special experience. So I think the world of him. And he was there, and I got to meet his wingman, Phil Casey, so that was fun.
That's cool.
And you'll love it. You'll love it. I was trying to think who I really have gone fangirl on, but I can't think of anybody right now.
That is cool, though.
Yeah. Well, that's going to be fun. What else are you going? Well, if you can tell me in like 5 minutes, what else are you going to play with? What other events do you have coming up?
Well, I'm trying to think. We do have
nothing like being on the spot.
Elizabeth. Yeah, I know. We do have next month, October 19th, I believe is the date. We have Elizabeth Saint. We have Charla Harding. We have Ashley Godwin, and our buddy, of course, Johnny Hauser, Madison Smith. They're all going to be coming over to the Manor. We're going to be doing an event over there as well, a public event. So that should be a lot of fun. I know that. And also, we just got done doing a little filming for a show, an upcoming show that's going to be on the Travel Channel that you'll be able to watch probably come February. And I'll be posting all sorts of fun stuff when I'm actually able to do so. But that's all I can say now.
I know they're so bad about
February.
Yeah,
Boy,
you can't talk about this.
They are.
You can't talk about this.
You can't say anything till we talk about it first. It's like, okay.
I know, and you sit there and you're just like, but.
Right. It's like, but this is really cool, especially because I'm like in small town Iowa, where nothing happens. Like, give me a little ray of sunshine over here, Bo. Come on. But
I understand that they're trying to protect like locations and experiences and that type of thing. I totally get that. But man, does it make you crazy when you know something and you don't get a chance to pop it out there.
Well, and that's like me. Like, all I do is talk. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's super hard for me. Cause it's like, all I want to do is just spill the beans, and I can't because of like all this legality stuff, because they'll come after you.
They're serious about that. I have a friend who filmed an episode recently, and it's just like, I know she wants to tell me, and I'm like, nope, don't talk to me.
Right.
I'm media, don't talk to me. Don't talk to me. Because I won't be able to keep my mouth shut. So
right. It's tough.
It is.
Stuff. But it's fun.
Well,
fun stuff. Good experience.
Can you say which show?
I can't even say that right now, which kind of sucks. But yeah, I will say this: like, it's a new show that will just be making its debut. So I'm kind of excited about that.
Oh, that is good.
Yeah. So
well,
something
if they're talking
maybe
to you, there's
a little newer,
for
fresher.
it.
Oh, I mean, I was just brought in as kind of a consultant type thing. I did investigate, and all that.
I was going to say, you're a lot more than a consultant.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's great. Will you be on screen?
I will be, yeah, for
cool.
Sure.
Well, I will be looking for that. And as soon as you can sing it from the mountaintops, let me know.
You'll hear it, that's for sure.
Because we are not going this long without another show. So
that's right, dang it. Just an
atrocity.
Believe it
I
can't
either.
believe that. Oh, so bad.
Yeah.
Dang it.
Busy. You were busy.
Yeah.
So.
Life happens, right?
Well, it does. And we are right at going to a break. So I think I'm going to go ahead and start that. When we come back, we'll let people know how they can get in touch with you. And I want to hear about some of the the experiences around Malvern Manor too. Because
Sweet.
I have been seeing some things that I've been hearing from people that are going, and I have not made it that far yet. And I'm dying to. So
it'll be fun.
We will be right back, y'all. You come back too.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
In today's breaking news, over 1.8 million people have signed a petition that is circulating throughout social media and online, pledging to raid Area 51 in hopes of freeing any extraterrestrials that could be on site. Also seeking full disclosure from the U.S. government. Could anything actually come of this? What could be the outcome? Find out on our continuing coverage at 9 p.m. here on WBHM-DB Action News.
You're kidding, right? Most of those people couldn't raid a refrigerator if it weren't for it having a light in there. How about this? For some real information that you can use, instead of the other, sources, stay here where you are, on WBHM-DB, Birmingham, Alabama.
Abnormal Alabama presents Crypticon October 25th and 26th at the Port in the Wharf, Orange Beach. Bigfoot, the paranormal, authors and speakers, vendors, and your chance to experience the Psychomantium. There'll be a costume contest and much, much more. October 25th and 26th at the Port in the Wharf, Orange Beach. Get more info, directions, and tickets available now at abnormalalabama.com. That's abnormalalabama.com.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 45 minutes after the hour. Welcome back to Paranormal Experience Radio. I am Kat Hobson, your host, with my guest Josh Hurd, and we are into our final segment. I can't believe this, but I know, right? This has gone so quickly, but I am so glad you're here. I enjoy you. So I like your personality and I like your work. There's really all the positives. But go ahead before we get into Malvern Manor. Oh, hang on just a minute. Okay,
yeah.
Now people can hear you. That's a positive thing.
Oh, hey, what's up?
I know, right? So before we get into your property, your baby, the place I want to come, we want to make sure that people listening can get in touch with you if they don't already know how. What's the best way?
So the best way is probably just joshhurd.net. That's my, website or whatever. My books are on there. The films are on there. The podcasts are on there. A link to my Patreon page is on there, which is something new that I just kind of started. I do another podcast that's just, Patreon exclusive, where I bring on a lot of friends and things like that. We just talk shop, But yeah, I'm blogging and vlogging and podcasting and live streaming from Malvern Manor, all these cool static cam stuff. It's fun. But all that's pretty much right there at joshhurd.net.
Too cool. Well, that's easy peasy.
Yeah, exactly.
Now tell them about Malvern Manor. I mean, you have to... I think maybe 2 people in chat have been there. I know one for sure. So I think that people are probably chomping at the bit a little bit. So
Malvern Manor itself is kind of an anomaly. And it's, it was a structure that was built back in the mid 1800s. By the late 1800s, it was in full swing as a hotel. It ran as a hotel all the way up until the 1950s. At that time, it kind of takes an odd turn and becomes a nursing home. The nursing home itself didn't last very long. And in the 1970s, the state of Iowa, came in and shut down the nursing home. And that's where it becomes the group home. And the group home is servicing any type of mental disorder you could imagine. Everything, people with drug and alcohol abuse, people with Down syndrome, all the way over to the opposite side of the coin where people have, DID or multiple personalities, schizophrenics, and even murderers are held there. So it's a very odd population of people, coexisting under the same roof. And it ran that way all the way up until then. It was eventually shut down in 2005 for a laundry list of reasons.
Right.
Neglect, abuse were right at the top of that list as well, sadly, but that's also a fairly common tale. But yeah, the things that you could expect to experience at Malvern, kind of run the gamut, honestly. You've got shadow figures, you've got disembodied voices, a lot of physical manipulation of objects. Just anything that you can imagine, really. It's kind of a crazy, crazy place. But it's all kind of crammed into a 10,000 square foot structure.
Amazing. And it's so beautiful. I mean, it doesn't look like it would be scary at all,
right.
Haunted at all. It's just a beautiful, beautiful building. And
yeah, it's
you wouldn't anticipate that.
Right. And, from the investigative side of everything, because that's kind of how I approach everything, is like investigator first, we've left everything as we found it. We haven't touched anything. So when you walk into Malvern Manor, you are going to experience that building the exact way I did when I first set foot in that building. And I think that adds a little more to the integrity of the place, from the investigative standpoint of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, like on the outside, I mow the lawn and all that fun stuff. And, we want it to be as structurally sound as possible. So we do a little bit of work every once in a while just to make sure that it's going to remain standing. But as far as the guts of the place, you're going to experience it exactly the way that we did.
I just think that's so special.
Yeah, it's very important to me that we approached it like that.
I find that only one location that I'm aware of has changed things dramatically, and it had to happen, and that is Old South Pittsburgh Hospital, because it had the previous owners had let it just almost collapse with grunge and garbage, and it was horrible. I was there right before it was closed down, and I got sick. Yeah. I don't talk about that very much, but I did. And it was because of the environment.
Yeah.
So,
and that's another thing. It's like, we certainly, we have people staying the night there.
Mm-hmm.
And we certainly don't want people, with getting health issues or anything like that. That's absolutely the last thing that we want.
Well, so, yeah. I don't think there's really a danger at your location of that. I mean, because
no,
I know there's not. But I know that, this place now, they've gone through and dumped all the garbage, and, they're taking it a section at a time, getting everything where they can open. They don't just let you go anywhere. And,
right.
I like that they're trying to maintain the integrity while being safe, just like you do. I think that is important. And I'm glad that you recognized that when you started.
Yeah. I think it is. I don't know. It's just important to me, I guess, that we, presentation, right?
Totally, all about
everything.
presentation.
Yeah, so, Now, obviously, I do, vacuum the floors, and not well. But I mean, I say, like, I will run a vacuum over it a few times a week. I will do that.
Well, I don't, like I said, I have no doubt that your place is clean and safe. I know that. But
yeah,
I appreciate that effort because, like I said, I was in a place where nobody cared, and that's so dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have had a mutual friend who got a lung infection and has to wear a mask just about everywhere that she goes to investigate now. So,
right.
You just have to pay attention to things, and you do that. So,
I appreciate you saying that.
Well, people need to know. The other place I mentioned, that was just a weird, extreme, bizarre circumstance. That was tragic. But so, how does someone go about booking Malvern?
So I mean, really, all you do is you cruise over to the website, which is just the malvernmanor.com. You hit that website. There's a calendar right there. You pick a date on the calendar. It emails me, directly. And so if you book with us, I mean, that I'm the dude that you're dealing with. And we get you on the calendar, and you show up and have a great time.
There you go, and get great experiences and evidence.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
What is your most common experience that you have there, or that guests have there?
Oh my goodness. A lot of people, especially lately, I mean, good God, just in the last 10 days, we have had 7 people/groups run out of that building. And it's all because of, yes. And I don't know if it's because it's the time of year. It's getting to be that creepy season again or what. But I will say that the Shadow Man, or what we call the Shadow Man, that phenomenon has been happening quite often. Something back in that nursing home wing has been amping itself up quite a lot lately. We were filming on Monday night at the Manor. And again, I was with like Johnny Hauser and my buddy Paul and my buddy Ron. We were over there doing our thing. And this has never happened to me before. But I actually set the camera down and I had to leave. I had to run because I was about to get physically sick. And so I had to mad sprint to the restroom where I, got physically ill there. That doesn't happen to me. I will not stop filming. And this was a pretty interesting experience for me, that's for sure, where I actually had to put down the whole camera rig and say, sorry guys, I'll be back, and run. I don't know what's going on back there, but it's to the point, I don't even vacuum back there any longer. It truly is that intense back there.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That just sounds actually pretty interesting.
Well, it just makes you wonder, the building itself has completely shifted and changed over time. The first time I walked into that building was August 15th, 5 years ago. And since that night, things have morphed and shifted and changed in all of this. And I don't know what the cause of that is. If it's because we have different people all the time and everybody may have their own little paranormal baggage that they're carrying along with them. I don't know if that has anything to do with it. I don't know if the spirits themselves are getting used to the fact that people come there for that specific purpose, they know that people are there to interact and talk with them. I don't know. But the building has morphed. That is for sure.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I mean, I think locations do have their own personalities all the time. And
for sure.
But that's really fascinating to me.
You know, another interesting thing that's been happening lately also is, you know, this very odd connection between Villisca and the manor. We are getting EVPs that are more Villisca based, and at Villisca they're getting EVPs that are more manor based. Like, we were getting the spirit the other night over EVP that was suggesting it was Reverend Kelly. You know, it doesn't make a lot of sense. You know, we've had the name Inez Gibson come across numerous times while people are investigating at the Villisca house. I don't know. Like, I do know that Johnny has a really cool theory. And it was actually when Nick and Katrina were there filming Lockdown. We were all sitting around. This was after they just got done filming my little walkthrough scene or whatever. And so we were just kind of, you know, just jack-jawing around, not doing anything. And Johnny said, wouldn't that be crazy if whoever did the Villisca murders stayed in this hotel a night or two before or after? He goes, isn't it feasible? Because, like, that building was, like, the place to be in the area.
Right.
He goes, but isn't it feasible that the Villisca axe murders could have even been plotted within the walls of Malvern Manor? Now, that really freaked me out. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I would think so. Holy wow. That's a
really,
pretty strange and interesting concept.
Right. Like, a really cool theory to entertain. I would love to see, like, a ledger, you know, of the hotel, like, from back then, like in June of 1912. You know what I mean? Like, I would love to see that.
Do they exist? Is there any way that you can get your hands on them?
No, not to my knowledge. Everything has been lost to history for the most part. It really sucks. Really, really sucks.
Or if they at some point became a patient. If they lost their mind.
Sure.
It
just makes you wonder, like, what is going on, right?
Yep. Well, believe it or not, we're out of time. I can't believe that. I know, right? So we are going to absolutely have to step our game up on scheduling these conversations more often.
Absolutely.
But
I had a great time. The time flew by. Man.
It did. And I can't wait to see you in Gettysburg. Is your whole family coming with you?
The wife is, for sure.
Awesome.
So I'll have Kirsten with me. We'll probably have somebody watch the kids. You know what I mean? Probably.
I understand. Yes. We get people to watch the dogs, so.
Yep, absolutely.
We're a little past y'all's phase so far. But it's pretty cool. I can't wait to meet y'all face to face. That's going to be neat.
Yes. It's going to be so much fun.
Yeah.
I'm excited now. It's great.
Well, thank you again for joining me. And I do want to let people know that we are back on our regular schedule right now. We will have Friday night with the Paraversal Universe with Kevin and Jennifer Malik. Shelley Burke Robertson will be hosting, well, she kind of brings information, so she's not really hosting, she's informing. But that is Ghost Talk Radio, and it is fantastic. She shares research that she has done about locations around the world. So I know that y'all know that, and I know that you love it. Sunday, I will be back. I will be on Fate Mag Radio, where we will be entertaining 2 separate guests that night, which is a real rarity for me, so I can't wait. Monday will be the Paranormal Pride with Denise Pridemore. Always a great show. And I will be back Wednesday for another episode of Paranormal Experienced. I can't wait to talk with y'all again, and y'all have a great week. Thank you for joining us, and Josh, thank you again. Everybody, enjoy your week, and you know what? Be the change you want to see. We all can manifest that, okay? Just live your life the way that you would like to see others live theirs, and be that person. Y'all have a great week. Thanks for joining us, and we will check you the next time. Good night.